begins as it ends, alone in the dark.
For the last few weeks, I've been struggling to express my thoughts about Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. In short, it's a beautiful game. Stunning, emotional, cinematic, chilling, lightning. It's like watching a surreal A24 film, but it's interactive. Its cinematography paints a landscape of milky sunset oranges, contrasted with smoky, battle-hardened grays. Iceland has never felt more melancholic and depressing. The soundscapes of Senua's psychosis guides you like a broken, directionless compass. The motion capture performances create a window into the soul like never before in a video game. There's so much artistry put into this game, yet I struggle to even call it a game. I don't say this to be disparaging to Ninja Theory or to suggest that I prefer games with more traditional gameplay over quote-unquote walking simulators. Rather, I feel that Hellblade 2, from a gameplay perspective, isn't nearly as refined or polished as its storytelling and visual elements. The general consensus agrees that the gameplay doesn't evolve from the first game. But here's the thing, the sequel's flawed gameplay, like its restrictive combat and repetitive puzzles, somehow amplifies its emotional impact and narrative depth, and this results in an unforgettable experience that deeply resonates with me. But why? Why am I so torn? Do I like it despite its flaws? And so I ask, is it even possible to love a flawed game? I want to dive deeper into Hellblade's flaws, because I almost didn't finish this game, primarily because the gameplay wasn't clicking for me. The same criticisms I've heard about the game before playing it quickly reared its ugly head within the first 2 hours. For instance, Hellblade's visceral combat comes with little explanation and is quite simple. There's no HUD, UI, or effective combos to learn, no rhythm, no cheats. It's as blunt as a sword itself. Mastering combat requires observation and patience, timing heavy attacks, repeated blocking, evade and evade again. It's not a pretty system. Yes, it may look gorgeous and striking, but it feels awkward and abrasive. I often felt like I wasn't in control, which was very punishing. I never felt like a badass, nor did I truly master the combat, and I felt discouraged. It wasn't enjoyable like the satisfying combat systems in other games. Then there's the bridge ruin puzzles, which become more dreadful as the game progresses. At first, these puzzles allow for many observations, taking in sights and environments of each location. However, narratively speaking, I never gained any story or thematic insights from these sections. If anything, it felt like there was a missed opportunity for exposition or story details, as these puzzles slow down the pacing that would otherwise be a brisk jog. I've always tried to rush through these sections to get back into the action and see where the story unfolds. At the moment, these flaws weigh down the experience and cause a lot of frustration and dissonance from the story. However, upon further reflection, a different perspective emerged. When the credits rolled on Hellblade 2, I had goosebumps. I understood exactly what Ninja Theory was trying to convey on an emotional level, but it also required introspection and reflection on why the narrative elements, such as its plot, characters, themes, dialogue, and character arcs, resonated with my own personal struggles. For context and spoilers, Hellblade 2 follows Senua on a journey to Iceland to free her people from the Northmen's slave trade. She captures one of the Northmen, Thorgestur, to lead her to his settlement of Borgaverki. While searching in a destroyed settlement, Senua encounters the Droga, a tribe of cannibalistic barbarians sacrificing people to summon a giant named Iltaga. Senua manages to save a man named Fargrim, who senses Senua's great importance to saving his people. Throughout the story, Senua is tasked with saving 3 giants, including Iltaga, by learning their personal struggles and helping their spirits rest peacefully. The hidden folk, godlike beings who live underground, guide Senua to realizations about the giants in order to defeat them. By the end of the story, Senua unmasks a deep conspiracy that the giants were created by Goy, Thorgestur's father and the leader of Borgaverki. Goy was taking Senua's people as sacrifice for his fictitious giants to create fear and oppression within his own people, allowing him to remain in power. Thorgestur tries to convince his father that Senua can bring peace back to their lands, but Goy kills his own son and battles Senua to keep his conspiracy alive. Senua manages to defeat Goy, revealing the truth to his people. It ends with Senua finally embracing her strengths and weaknesses to become her true self, sparing Goy from his death. The story of Hellblade 2 initially seems to contradict the events of the first game. Senua has multiple companions who witness the mythological events unfolding, making her psychosis seem more real. However, I believe the game aligns with the first one by offering an abstract and ambiguous narrative that fits the emotions and conflicts of the characters. The giants aren't real beings in the story. Rather, they represent traumatic events that occur to people within these settlements. Understanding trauma can be abstract, rippling out to affect many different parts of life, and since these people are from the 5th century and lack the tools and knowledge of the 21st century, they interpret these traumatic events as myths and monsters, like the giants. Perfect scene illustrating this abstract and ambiguous nature is when Iltaga first appears, rising from the ground and spilling lava on the path of Senua and her followers. One moment, Senua and her companions are walking toward their destination. The next, Iltaga appears and Senua's followers vanish. The path becomes nonsensical, like a dream where directions shift and people reappear and disappear in seconds. It's feverish. The mythology in the game never feels concrete, despite seeing people literally fight these giants. In reality, they don't know what they're fighting. Then there's Senua's arc, which involves her constantly battling her psychosis. She has a better handle on it compared to the first game, but it still causes a lot of doubt and anxiety. The voices repeatedly tell her to leave and to stop progressing forward because she's on the wrong path. The truth is, Senua's psychosis isn't something she must overcome. Rather, it's something that she can use to help others during their own struggles. Senua's connection with others stems from her darkness, which makes her human. She's able to see others' flaws and uplift them. She helps others through that fog of uncertainty because that's her entire life. When she comes to this conclusion at the end of the game, there's a moment of satisfaction. Senua has finally mastered her inner conflict and accepts her flaws as her guiding light, a reminder of her humanity and a tool to help others. It's a mature and enlightening point to end on, as so many of us struggle with our own demons and weaknesses, believing they will always bring us down and keep us from advancing, instead of motivating us to connect with others and do good despite them. Flaws make us who we are, and that's why I deeply resonated with this game and its story, because we rarely get to see stories that examine flaws and the darkness within ourselves. Flaws are always something that we fear and push away instead of acknowledging and making the effort to work alongside them with our own strengths. It's not our strengths that make us unique, but our flaws. And how you use your flaws to your own benefit is how you'll end up learning to embrace them. Having the story's themes center around flaws made me re-examine my experience with the game and my initial criticisms, learning to accept the game's problems because the positive experiences outweigh the negative aspects. Throughout the course of the game, I felt conflicted and guilty because I enjoyed the story and experience, yet I had problems with the gameplay. And this is why I'm making this video, to explore whether I truly liked Hellblade 2 despite its flaws. I often found that a game's flaws can really drag down the overall experience, even when I have strong desires to play it and enjoy it. It's hard to commit to saying you love a game when you know others will immediately point out its flaws. And while it may be true that these flaws can distract from the enjoyment, it doesn't have to be true for you. You can acknowledge a game's faults and shortcomings, but if your overall feeling is enjoyment and love, why should you ignore that to satisfy others? Many of you out there have your guilty pleasure games, but why should they be guilty pleasures? You know their flaws and you know what others think about them, but why feel guilty? We often get too caught up in defining what makes good entertainment, forget how subjective an individual's games can be. Its flaws make it stand out and make it become unforgettable. Even if you can acknowledge or be critical of a game, it doesn't mean you need to stop enjoying it. You don't need to defend the things you enjoy, just enjoy them for what they are, flaws and all. If there's one thing I hope people take away from this video, it is this. Yes, Hellblade 2 is a flawed game, but it's worth playing because many of you will have a similar reaction that I did, but others won't, and that's fine. You're allowed to like flawed games as long as the positives outweigh the negatives for you personally. There's no such thing as guilty pleasures, they're just your favorites, so enjoy them, and thanks for watching.